All right, everybody. It is May 31st, last day of May. And this is the daily blog. So I've kind of ran out of things to talk about. I've said in many other blogs that I'm running out of topics. So something I do want to talk about is the police department. Seems to be an ongoing topic for police brutality, police violence, things to that effect, unlawful search and seizures. That's been a lot of stuff that's been in the news lately. So I want to talk about this primarily in my town, Ada, Oklahoma. Something that I'd like to say about our police force, if you will. Let me first off start by saying that I in no means, by no way do I mean to offend any police officers that may be on the force today or any that have retired, in the past. So let's discuss it. So, for those of you who know, I grew up running the streets, doing things I wasn't supposed to do, acting foolish. I had many interactions with the police department in my town on a regular basis, almost daily. I lived a lifestyle where I hated the police, fuck the police, that kind of thing. That's not me now. Let me start by saying that the Ada Police Department, a lot of you guys that's on the force, and a lot of you have retired, obviously, because I'm getting older, but you guys are like uncles to me, man. Like, I had regular visitation with you guys. You guys see me every day. I do want to say thank you to a few officers. Kevin Hood, if you're watching. If any of you guys are watching, which I hope y'all are, because that's kind of what the intention of this particular blog is. Hopefully I can talk about some things. But Kevin Hood, another one's Jason Potter, another one's Larry Scott, Officer Mickey Ballard. There's several of them. Officer Vogt, David Vogt. Let's see, who else? Officer Casey Northcutt, Ricky Jamar. All of you guys. I'd like to say thank you to you guys for putting up with my crap when I was a young kid running the streets, and the guys I ran with too. You guys, I got to give it to you, man. Y'all handled us really well. Some of my friends are going to disagree with that, but whatever. That's their opinion. This is mine. The reason why I would like to say thanks to these guys is because they understood the struggle that I think they do. I can't speak for them, but I think that they understood the struggle that I went through as a child. They understood why I reacted the way I did, why the lifestyle that I lived. They knew a lot of the things about my life that were not right, and I was rebellious because of it. Here's the difference between those cops, Frank Fox being another one, by the way, those cops and the other police officers. If they seen us walking down the street, they made it a point to stop and say hello. It wasn't one of those things to where, what are y'all doing? Where are y'all going? And sometimes it was. We were suspect. But nonetheless, they did make efforts to have a relationship with us kids that ran the streets. They knew all of our hangout spots, and sometimes that was good and sometimes that wasn't. But they really tried to have a relationship with us. I think they understood the concept that if you had a relationship with these guys that run these streets, you're going to be more informed as an officer, which is a good thing. If you have a touch out there, and I ain't talking about snitching and ratting and all this stuff. I'm just talking a genuine relationship with people. I think that's what our police force is lacking today. We don't have police officers like that anymore that interact with the youth in our city today. We have no interaction with the police department. I have not seen a police officer on the side of the road talking to children. And I ain't talking about pulling up in your car and sitting there. I'm talking about get out of your car. Go talk to these kids. You could be the changing factor in their lives. You could be that individual that says that one thing or sets that one example to change the direction of a young man or a young woman's life. It could be you. I know Kevin Hood cut us some slack that he probably shouldn't, and Officer Potter too, man. I mean, you know, but they seen something in us, and at least I think they did, and that's why they cut us some slack sometimes. we weren't the best guys. I mean, we just weren't. And me growing up, becoming the man that I was, I always wasn't a great man either. But these guys were still, you know, they knew me. They knew me from the interaction they had for me as a kid, and they were understanding to us. These guys would pull up to us as kids and get out of their car, and they'd have a conversation. And it wasn't like interrogation. It was a conversation, a genuine conversation. Hey, Josh, how are you doing today? Yeah, I'm doing good, officer. How about yourself? Well, I'm doing okay, you know. Seen you guys walk down the street, thought I'd stop and say, hey, what's up, and see what y'all were up to. And it wasn't something that we took as that they were prying or trying to catch us up or, you know, arrest us or something to that effect. It wasn't like that. It was a genuine conversation between me and an officer, or a couple of officers sometimes, you know, because, you know, we got in trouble. We did some things. Sometimes we'd get in trouble, and these guys would show up, you know, and they'd put the cuffs on us and all this stuff, but a lot of times they let us go home after that. They'd give us a good talking to. I mean, these were good men. They wanted to make a difference in their city, and I think, you know, they knew that started with the youth. I know it impacted my life, and I'm very thankful for that. You know, and I'm not talking about your dare officer that goes to the cars or goes to the schools and makes kids think their parents are evil for smoking pot. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about officers who are on the beat, on the street, and talking and interacting with our population in Ada, Oklahoma. I don't see much of that anymore. And you know what? Maybe I'm just not around to see it. But I do live on the west side of town, in the ghetto or the hood, whatever you want to call it. It's not the best side of town. But I don't see officers out interacting with people anymore. I don't. A lot of the guys that I named are either A, retired, or B, they're not beating the streets. They're doing other things. A lot of them are detectives. Some of them are captains. Some of them are doing other things. You know, so I don't blame them. But what I do see is a lot of younger officers who have a chip on their shoulder because they got a badge on their chest. Let's be clear here. You have a badge on your chest. Your job is to protect and serve your community, okay? A lot of you guys don't know the law. You don't know the law. I was in the police department, 2 months ago, quoting law from the Oklahoma law books. I had it. I showed it to you. I showed you what the law was. And you know what? You would not. You refused to enforce that law. That's crazy to me. That's a police officer right there on a bicycle. I ought to go get a picture with him. It really is. It's a cop on a bike. That's the first time I've seen one in years. You know what? Here goes the story. When I was young, we were drinking, and I seen two officers coming down the street right there. And they're incognito. It's nighttime. They don't have blinkers on lights. So they're coming down my road. And I stopped them, and I was like, hey, y'all don't have lights on your bikes. That's illegal. It was Officer Potter, matter of fact. And he was like, well, we're police officers, because we had that relationship. We could talk. We're police officers, so, we don't have to have lights on our bike. And I'm like, well, why? And he was like, well, how are we supposed to sneak up on you guys? It was a joke, They wore shorts, and their legs were so freaking white. And I made that joke. I'm like, man, come on. I seen you guys 4 blocks down the road because your legs are so white, man. Look like reflectors going up and down. And it was funny. It was a joke, They didn't get mad about it. We laughed it up. They went on about their night, and I did too. You don't see that anymore. If I was to stop that officer right there that just drove by and said, hey, your legs are too white to ride that bike, he would handcuff me. I guarantee you he'd be mad about it. I may be wrong. I don't know the guy. I may be wrong. But for the most part, cops, these younger officers that we have in our town right now, they have this huge chip on their shoulder. And it's because they got a badge on their chest. Maybe they just graduated CLEAT program or something like that. Here's where I want to give some props to Officer Casey Northcutt. That man knows the law. That man knows the law, okay? I'm confident that I could quote Oklahoma law to him and he would know exactly what I'm talking about. He knows the law. A lot of our officers don't, and I feel that that's a problem, first of all, because, first of all, if you're going to enforce the law, you need to know the law. 2, if you don't know the law, how do you know you yourself ain't breaking the law? That's an issue. I live 2 blocks away from Glenwood Park. There's a lot of teenage kids down there that are smoking weed, selling drugs, doing ill stuff, and the cops do patrol the park. I'm not saying they're not patrolling the park. You know how easy it is to hide things from you guys? It's super easy. Take notes from some of your older officers, some of your senior officers. Get to know those kids, okay? If you get to know those kids, you're going to know more about what's going on, okay? And I ain't talking about interrogation. I'm talking about genuinely know people, conversations, having a relationship with the youth on our streets. Change our city. It starts from that portion there. Most of the people that I grew up with are in prison or worse, okay? Few of us made it out, and I don't care what anybody says. Those police officers who took the time out of their day to come and speak with us, they had something to do with that, okay? There was definitely something there that spoke to each and one of us, and we knew what we were doing right and we knew what we were doing wrong. These police officers of today don't do that anymore. We don't see police officers interacting with society. We don't. We don't see them being a part of this community or interacting with the community. They're police officers and they stay out of it. You cannot change your community. Protect and serve, okay? By talking to these youth and making a difference in their life, you are serving your community. You're serving your community in the biggest way you possibly could. Taking out the bad guys and putting them in jail is one thing, but that's a temporary fix because you all know they get right back out. And you start over from step one in that scenario. True change, by interacting with the youth in our community, sets forth a cycle for our future in Ada, Oklahoma, okay? You guys can do that. You have the power to do that. At one point in time in my life, I wanted to become an officer just so I could do that. For me, it wasn't about taking out the bad guys. For me, it was about getting out there and helping those kids who were in the situation that I was in. Because as a police officer, I already have the respect from these people. I already have their attention. I don't have to do anything. I show up in a police car. I step out in my uniform. I have their attention. Anything that I say will be heard by the youth here, okay? That's what I wanted to do at one time in my life. Unfortunately, I got in some trouble and I couldn't become a police officer. You know what? Our past haunts us. I made some mistakes when I was a young man, and I'm still paying for those mistakes today, and I probably will for the rest of my life. But a message to you police officers out there, especially you younger guys, for a minute, put down, don't be a cop all the time. Get out of that car, be a person, talk to these kids, take a step to change the way they think, the things they're told. Sometimes they don't have guidance in their life. You could be that guidance, okay? You could be that one person, as I said earlier, to say that one thing that changes their entire perspective. Not only about the way their life is being lived or the actions that they're taking, but also that one thing that could change the way they perceive a police officer, okay? There's a lot of police violence in the world, but there's also violence against police in the world too. A lot of it, okay? You can change that. That young man you're speaking to could later be one of two things. He can be the man that you take away, hauling out the bad guys, or he could be me. He could be the one that's the voice and tries to speak to other people and make that change and be able to speak from a standpoint to where I've experienced these things and I've done these things, and these are the things that I've done to change my life, okay? You could be the person that changed someone's life forever, okay? We're a small town. It's not that hard to do in our town. This ain't Chicago. This ain't Dallas-Fort Worth. This is not a big town. This is Ada, Oklahoma. You guys have a lot of power in this town, and that power should be used for a more positive thing. And changing our youth and interacting with our youth is a very important thing, and I think that's where it starts, okay? Today's youth is tomorrow's future. If you have the opportunity to change today's youth, to make a better future for our town, then I beg you, please, by all means, please, do it. That's my piece for today, guys. Thank you very much. As always, thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, whatever it is. Once again, I'm on YouTube as well now because I've had some requests to put on YouTube, so Josh LaFleur on YouTube. Definitely appreciate you guys watching. As always, be safe. Have a nice day, guys. Bye-bye.